The headline, Shockwave in Geopolitics. Vance says I'll step in if Trump's health fails, is not just sensational news. It is a signal of the uncertainty and fragility that pervades the current political landscape. Imagine for a moment the implications of such a statement, a prominent figure openly declaring readiness to assume leadership if the health of a sitting political icon falters. This is not mere speculation. This is a candid acknowledgement of contingency politics in its rawest form, and it warrants our careful attention. J.D. Vance's recent statement that he is prepared to step in if former President Trump's health falters has sent shockwaves through the Republican Party, illustrating a rare glimpse into the inner calculations of political leadership. This declaration is not merely a passing comment, it is a strategic positioning that communicates readiness, ambition, and foresight. In a political landscape dominated by personality-driven narratives, such a candid acknowledgement of contingency planning is remarkable. Vance's words serve as a signal to party insiders and the electorate alike. The GOP is not monolithic, and leadership succession is a matter that cannot be ignored. The audacity of announcing a potential fallback role in public discourse also underscores the high-stakes environment in which American politics operates today, where timing, perception, and visibility can determine political trajectories. By stepping forward with this statement, Vance introduces a critical conversation about preparedness within the party. The notion that the health of a political icon could influence the continuity of leadership is a delicate subject, yet it is one that must be addressed transparently in any serious political organization. Vance's approach demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of this reality rather than waiting for a crisis to unfold. He signals that there is an organized, thoughtful response ready to ensure stability. This is a calculated move that conveys competence, vigilance, and the ability to act decisively when circumstances demand. In essence, it is a declaration of both loyalty and responsibility, a duality that resonates strongly in contemporary political discourse. Moreover, the public nature of Vance's statement amplifies its impact, creating ripple effects across multiple levels of political engagement. Supporters of Trump are forced to grapple with the idea of leadership beyond their favored figure, while party strategists must reconsider their planning in light of a clearly declared contingency. The statement also functions as a litmus test for the Republican electorate, inviting reaction, debate, and assessment. Vance's readiness to assume a leadership role is therefore not just a personal ambition. It is an active engagement with the mechanisms of political legitimacy and public perception. In a sense, it is a carefully orchestrated maneuver that blends strategic foresight with the subtle art of signaling authority. This move also underscores the complexity of leadership dynamics in contemporary American politics. Unlike eras in which institutional structures primarily dictated succession, today's environment is deeply personalized. The health, availability, and decisions of individual leaders carry disproportionate weight, and political actors must navigate these variables with agility. Vance's proactive declaration reflects an acute awareness of this reality, demonstrating that effective leadership today requires both anticipation and communication. By presenting himself as the ready alternative, He positions himself at the intersection of respect for the established leader and the practical necessity of ensuring continuity. It is a nuanced stance, balancing ambition with loyalty and signaling to party members that he is both a devoted supporter and a capable steward of the party's future. Finally, the statement carries broader implications for public engagement and media interpretation. In an era dominated by rapid news cycles and social media amplification, such announcements are dissected, analyzed, and debated instantaneously. Each word carries weight, and Vance's choice to frame himself as a potential successor in the event of Trump's health crisis is a strategic decision designed to maximize visibility and influence. The impact of this readiness extends beyond internal party dynamics. It shapes national discourse, influences media narratives, and primes the electorate to consider alternative leadership scenarios. In doing so, Vance not only positions himself for future influence, but also highlights a new dimension of political strategy, one in which transparency, anticipation, and public signaling are essential tools for navigating the uncertainties of modern governance. J.D. Vance's bold declaration about stepping in if former President Trump's health declines exposes the underlying tensions within the Republican Party, revealing a complex interplay between loyalty, ambition, and strategic calculation. At first glance, the GOP presents a united front, a monolithic entity rallying around a figure who has defined its identity for years. Yet beneath this surface lies a dynamic landscape of competing interests, factions, and visions for the party's future. Vance's statement acts like a spotlight, illuminating these internal divisions and forcing both party members and the public to confront the reality that unity is often more nuanced than appearances suggest. The tension is palpable. On one side, there is unwavering loyalty to Trump, a personal devotion that has shaped policy priorities, campaign strategies, and party narratives. On the other side, there exists a pragmatic understanding that the unexpected can disrupt even the most solidified political structures. Vance's positioning brings this tension to the forefront, challenging the assumption that loyalty and contingency planning are mutually exclusive. This moment underscores the delicate balancing act required within party politics. Republican leaders must navigate the fine line between honoring Trump's influence and preparing for scenarios where leadership may need to shift. Vance's readiness to step in highlights a critical dimension of this balancing act, the necessity of foresight in political planning. By openly acknowledging a potential succession pathway, he signals both respect for the established leader and a strategic awareness of the party's long-term stability. This dual message resonates deeply within political circles where internal alliances and power dynamics are constantly in flux. Each faction within the GOP interprets Vance's words through its own lens, creating both opportunities for dialogue and potential friction points. The announcement effectively forces the party to confront uncomfortable questions about loyalty, ambition, and the mechanisms by which leadership continuity can be maintained under uncertain circumstances. Furthermore, Vance's statement reveals the subtle but critical ways in which ambition interacts with party cohesion. The GOP, like any major political organization, must balance individual aspirations with collective objectives. Vance's candidness is a form of strategic signaling. It demonstrates that ambition can coexist with respect for the party's figurehead, while also asserting his readiness to assume responsibility if circumstances demand. This signaling is especially significant because it transforms what might have been an internal conversation into a public discourse, amplifying both the stakes and the scrutiny. Party members, strategists, and voters alike are now engaged in interpreting the message, weighing its implications, and considering how it fits into the broader narrative of Republican politics. The announcement also sheds light on the evolving nature of leadership dynamics in contemporary politics. Unlike eras when institutional frameworks determined succession quietly behind closed doors, today, leadership transitions are subject to public perception, media amplification, and rapid social discourse. By making this statement openly, Vance demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of the modern political arena, where transparency, visibility, and calculated messaging are crucial to maintaining influence. His words serve as both a signal to party elites and a message to the electorate, highlighting that the party is prepared for contingency scenarios while simultaneously showcasing his own political acumen. The tension between loyalty and preparedness, ambition and deference, emerges as a defining feature of GOP internal dynamics, and Vance's announcement crystallizes this reality in stark relief. Moreover, this public acknowledgement of potential succession challenges the traditional narrative of unwavering loyalty. It forces a reconsideration of what it means to support a political leader fully while also ensuring that the party remains viable in unforeseen circumstances. Vance's statement thus becomes a catalyst for deeper reflection on the nature of political allegiance. The interplay between personal ambition and collective responsibility, and the intricate strategies required to navigate factional divisions without fracturing unity. In exposing these internal tensions, Vance not only stakes his claim within the party, but also illuminates the broader structural and strategic challenges that define contemporary Republican politics. J.D. Vance's announcement that he is prepared to step in if underscores a deeper trend in contemporary American politics. The personalization of power. In past eras, political parties relied heavily on institutional frameworks, established succession plans, and party machinery to ensure continuity of leadership. Today, however, individual leaders dominate the political narrative, their health, charisma, and decisions shaping not only party identity, but also national strategy. Vance's statement illuminates this shift, highlighting how personal circumstances can directly influence political stability. When a prominent figure's health becomes a potential variable in leadership succession, it underscores a reality that is both unprecedented and precarious. Political loyalty is no longer just about ideology or party lines. It is intricately tied to the individual at the helm, making the readiness of secondary figures like Vance not just a strategic choice, but a political necessity. This personalization of power transforms the way political actors operate. Leaders like Vance must navigate a landscape where influence is contingent upon public perception, media framing, and the nuanced management of timing. By declaring his readiness to step in, Vance positions himself within this high-stakes environment, signaling that he is not merely a passive supporter of the party's current leader, but an active participant prepared to ensure continuity. The statement reflects an understanding that in a personality-driven political climate, visibility and initiative are critical assets. Every utterance, every public gesture becomes a potential determinant of political influence. Vance's candid acknowledgement of a possible transition scenario exemplifies this reality. It is both a declaration of loyalty and a demonstration of strategic awareness, carefully calibrated to appeal to party members and the electorate alike. Moreover, the personalization of power has significant implications for party cohesion. In an environment where one individual's health or circumstances can trigger ripple effects across the entire political landscape, parties must balance loyalty with pragmatism. Vance's statement reveals the mechanisms by which this balance is negotiated. It acknowledges the prominence of Trump within the GOP, while simultaneously signaling that preparedness and adaptability are equally vital. The ability to navigate this duality, respecting the established leader while remaining strategically poised for contingency scenarios, is emblematic of modern political acumen. Vance's positioning demonstrates a sophisticated understanding of these dynamics, where influence and legitimacy are not simply inherited or assumed, but actively cultivated through calculated public engagement. The statement also underscores the role of public perception in modern leadership dynamics. Unlike historical contexts, where succession plans were largely internal, today's political environment is shaped by instantaneous media coverage, social media amplification, and the rapid dissemination of narratives. Vance's readiness to assume leadership in the event of a health crisis is not just a private contingency plan, it is a public performance designed to communicate competence, foresight, and reliability. The electorate is now a key actor in interpreting such messages, assessing both the loyalty to the current leader and the preparedness for future leadership. This shift emphasizes the heightened stakes of personality-driven politics, where individual decisions and statements reverberate far beyond internal party corridors. Finally, Vance's statement highlights a subtle but critical point about the strategic calculus of political actors in a personalized power structure. Modern political survival and influence depend as much on anticipation and positioning as they do on ideological fidelity. By openly acknowledging the possibility of stepping in, Vance asserts his presence, signals his capability, and cultivates legitimacy in the eyes of both the party elite and the broader public. This interplay between personal readiness and the centrality of individual leaders illustrates a defining characteristic of contemporary American politics. The increasing intertwining of personal circumstances with institutional continuity, where the fate of a party and even the nation can hinge on the preparedness of those who stand ready behind the figurehead. J.D. Vance's declaration that he is ready to step in if former President Trump's health declines is a masterclass in strategic positioning, revealing the intricate calculus that defines modern political maneuvering. This statement is more than a mere acknowledgement of potential circumstances. It is a deliberate signal to both the party establishment and the electorate that Vance is a figure of influence, visibility, and calculated ambition. In the world of high-stakes politics, timing is everything, And Vance's timing could not be more deliberate. By placing himself at the intersection of respect for Trump and readiness to lead, he communicates a message that resonates across multiple dimensions. He is loyal, he is prepared, and he is politically astute. This is the type of maneuver that captures attention, forces analysis, and subtly redefines the internal hierarchy of the GOP. The brilliance of Vance's strategic positioning lies in its dual messaging. On one hand, it demonstrates loyalty and deference to a leader who has become the symbol of the party's identity. On the other hand, it stakes a claim to authority, signaling to party insiders that there is a capable alternative ready to maintain continuity. This balance is critical. Too much emphasis on ambition could be seen as opportunistic, while too much deference could render him invisible in the broader political conversation. By threading this needle, Vance effectively navigates the complex dynamics of influence, showcasing a sophisticated understanding of both optics and substance. Every word, every nuance of his statement functions as a calculated signal that positions him as a serious player in the GOP's strategic landscape. Strategic positioning also involves anticipating the reactions of multiple audiences simultaneously. Within the party, Vance's announcement challenges allies and rivals alike to reconsider their own positioning and alliances. It prompts evaluation of loyalty, competence, and readiness across the leadership spectrum, subtly influencing internal decision-making and factional alignments. Beyond the party, it captures the attention of the media, pundits, and the electorate, generating discussions that amplify his visibility and legitimacy. In an era dominated by instantaneous communication and viral narratives, this dual, layered approach is essential. Vance's strategy recognizes that political influence is no longer confined to internal corridors. It extends into the public sphere, where perception can shape reality and readiness can translate into authority. Moreover, the move highlights the interplay between ambition and prudence. Strategic positioning is not merely about asserting oneself, it is about calculating risk, managing potential backlash, and leveraging opportunities to consolidate credibility. Vance's statement is carefully crafted to achieve all of these objectives. By framing himself as a responsible contingency option rather than a challenger seeking immediate disruption, he mitigates potential accusations of opportunism while amplifying his profile. This is a nuanced form of political intelligence that reflects an understanding of the delicate power dynamics at play within the GOP, where ambition must be expressed tactically, not recklessly. The public reaction to Vance's positioning further underscores its effectiveness. By entering the discourse on leadership readiness, he compels both supporters and critics to engage with his role in the party's future. It sparks debate, generates media coverage, and places him at the center of a narrative that could shape perceptions of succession planning, stability, and leadership within the Republican Party. This is the essence of modern strategic positioning, influencing both internal calculations and external narratives to secure credibility, authority, and long-term relevance. Vance's approach also reveals a broader truth about political strategy in contemporary America. Influence is not just about immediate power, but about being perceived as the capable and responsible actor who can navigate uncertainty. By openly declaring his readiness, He positions himself as both a loyalist and a forward-thinking strategist, demonstrating that in a political climate driven by personalities and rapid information flow, preparation and perception are as vital as policy or ideology. In doing so, Vance exemplifies the calculated art of political positioning, where every statement, timing, and implication is leveraged to enhance influence and secure a role in shaping the party's future trajectory. J.D. Vance's declaration that he is prepared to step in if former President Trump's health falters carries profound implications for the electorate and the broader political landscape, highlighting how readiness for leadership transitions can influence voter perception, party strategy, and national discourse. This is not merely a statement about ambition. It is a carefully calculated message to the public, designed to provoke consideration of both stability and contingency within the Republican Party. When a potential successor publicly signals preparedness, it forces the electorate to engage with questions that often remain behind closed doors. How resilient is the party in times of uncertainty, and who is positioned to guide it forward if unforeseen events occur? The impact of such messaging is magnified in an era where voters are attuned not only to policy positions, but also to leadership dynamics, trustworthiness, and perceived competence. The announcement challenges the electorate to grapple with scenarios that were once theoretical. By framing himself as a ready alternative, Vance introduces the idea that leadership is not absolute and that even a dominant figure like Trump is subject to human limitations. This acknowledgement of vulnerability is subtle but powerful. It humanizes the political process while simultaneously elevating the importance of preparedness. Voters are compelled to evaluate not just the current leadership, but the structures, individuals, and contingencies that ensure the party can navigate uncertainty. In doing so, Vance shifts public discourse from partisan loyalty alone to strategic considerations, prompting deeper engagement with the mechanisms of political succession and the qualities necessary for effective leadership under pressure. Moreover, the statement has strategic ramifications for party messaging and election planning. Political parties operate on multiple timelines. They must manage immediate campaigns while simultaneously preparing for future contingencies. Vance's positioning as a potential successor signals to party strategists that succession planning is not an abstract exercise, but a real consideration with tangible consequences. It sends a clear message that the party must remain agile and responsive to changing circumstances, balancing loyalty with preparedness. This strategic foresight is critical, especially in a political environment where unexpected developments can dramatically alter electoral calculations, media narratives, and public opinion. By openly acknowledging the need for readiness, Vance reinforces the importance of adaptability, signaling that effective leadership is measured not only by current accomplishments, but by anticipation of future challenges. Public perception, in this context, becomes a key variable. Voters interpret such announcements in complex ways, weighing the legitimacy of a potential successor against their loyalty to the current leader. Vance's statement is designed to convey competence, responsibility, and prudence, positioning him as a stabilizing force rather than a disruptive opportunist. This messaging shapes both internal party dynamics and external opinion, influencing how supporters, skeptics, and undecided voters perceive the party's ability to maintain cohesion and continuity. The electorate's response can have cascading effects, reinforcing or challenging narratives about stability, credibility, and the seriousness with which the party approaches leadership transitions. The announcement also reflects a broader trend in American politics: the increasing role of contingency planning in voter engagement. In an era dominated by rapid information flow, social media amplification, and 24-hour news cycles, political actors must communicate readiness and reliability proactively. Vance's statement exemplifies this approach, signaling not only to party insiders, but also to the public that leadership is intentional, calculated, and prepared for potential crisis. This dynamic reshapes expectations of political accountability, demanding that both leaders and potential successors demonstrate foresight and strategic competence. By presenting himself as a capable alternative, Vance influences how voters conceptualize leadership, succession, and party resilience, creating a framework in which preparedness is as politically compelling as ideology. Finally, the implications extend beyond partisan politics into national governance. When readiness for leadership transitions is clearly communicated, it strengthens public confidence in institutional stability, signaling that even in moments of uncertainty, mechanisms exist to ensure continuity. Vance's public positioning highlights this interplay between personal ambition and collective responsibility, emphasizing that the electorate is not merely observing policy debates, but also evaluating the robustness of political structures and the foresight of those who might lead. In doing so, his statement becomes a pivotal touchpoint for voter engagement, strategic calculation, and the ongoing negotiation between loyalty, preparedness, and effective governance. In conclusion, the GOP faces a moment of both challenge and opportunity. Vance's statement is not merely a headline, it is a reflection of the evolving dynamics within a party, the pressures of personalized politics, and the strategic calculations that define modern leadership. It is a wake-up call, a conversation starter, and a reminder that in the ever-shifting arena of American politics, readiness, vision, and adaptability are as crucial as loyalty, legacy, and ideology. The political landscape is shifting beneath our feet, and those who understand these currents and act with both insight and responsibility will shape the next chapter of American governance.